Welcome to a new video in my home automation network, and today I'm going to review another Blitzwolf product, and this is the BW-RC02. And probably from the lot of remote controls you can probably guess that this is an infrared smart remote. What you can do with this device is you place it in a room where you have a lot of devices that have remote controls. You will hook this product up with the Tuya app, and in that Tuya app you can basically configure these remote controls, like the remote for the TV or your hi-fi or whatever you have, and then you can use the app to control those devices. And this device is going to send out those infrared signals to control your TV and your other devices. So in this video I'm going to go through how you set this up and how you can configure various remotes. And as you can see from the sort of this assortment is I do have a few devices. The one thing I don't have an AC unit, and this can control ACs as well. So I have a TCL TV, which is probably like 3 or 4 years old now. I also have a set-top box that was provided by my company who does the internet and the TV and everything, which actually is unbranded because it's just a T-Home brand from T-Mobile, T-Home. I also have a very old Philips hi-fi system, and actually what I managed to find is I was looking around at home for these cheap sort of like Chinese light controllers, infrared. I also have this like panel MP3 player, which also has a similar style of very simple membrane keyboard RF control. And this device is able to control those as well. So it's not only TVs and ACs, you can pretty much configure any infrared remote control. At least all the ones that I managed to find at home seems to work as well. First, let me do the unboxing, although it's going to be very quick because in the box, you see this is the box, the usual Blitzwolf white and the green box. You get a small card, and also there is a small user manual which I must have used because it's not here anymore. But besides that, the only thing you get is you get this remote or infrared transmitter, probably I should say, and it has this black matte base with a rubber ring so it doesn't slide around, and then it has this dome which is actually like a black plastic, so when the LEDs are on, so there is a ring light over here, you can actually see the LEDs inside. And all you have is a micro USB slot, and you are provided with a micro USB lead. There is no power adapter, so you just have to use your like an old phone charger or anything which gives out 5 volts in a USB socket. You can use that to power this device, and actually that's pretty much it. And rest of it is just placement. So obviously it has LEDs that are going to sort of transmit in every single direction, so you just have to place it in the room, maybe flat in the surface, sort of like in the middle of the room, or I don't know, maybe in this angle, so it can reach all the devices that you want to control. I mean, usually these have like really strong infrared LEDs, stronger than the ones that you have in your remote. So the signal should be able to bounce around in the room from the walls. So the placement of this is not that critical. But maybe you have to experiment a little, especially if you have a lot of devices, just to find the optimal placement where it's going to reach all of them. On the box it says 5 volts, 1 amp. So as I said, any decent USB power supply is going to be suitable. And there is another spec where it says infrared frequency 38 Ks. I think that's 38 kilohertz, which I believe is the most common carrier frequency which is used by all the remote controls. And it says infrared distance is less than 10 meters. One more thing about the remote, as I said, it looks like it is able to learn every remote that I have at home, and also it can learn ACs, so air conditioning units. And the reason that is important because in case you didn't know, if you have a remote control like the TVs and hi-fis and DVDs, then they send out a fairly short code which contains some of the information about the manufacturer and the model. So each of the manufacturer, like Sony and Panasonic and Philips, they have their own code. So if you have any of these universal devices, based on the code, it would be able to tell what sort of remote it is. And then it has a short code for the actual button that you press. But with the AC, the way the AC remote works is that when you press any button, like the temperature or the the fan speed or the swing, then it actually sends out every single information. So for example, if you press the temperature up button, it's going to send data that turn on the AC, the temperature is 26 degrees, the fan is medium, and the swing is, I don't know, low or fixed or something like that, and all the other information that the AC supports. So every single time you press a button, it sends all the statuses together, and this is why it has a much longer code. So these infrared devices have to be prepared to receive that longer code, but that unit definitely does, because in the app I can see AC. And couple of years ago, I reviewed a similar product, and actually I tested it with my sister's place where they have a usual split AC, and it was working. So I have no doubt that this should work with a lot of AC models. Okay, so this is my setup now, and I have, well, it's not the final location for this device, but I just have it like stuck between these pillows here, because that way where my TV is and my hi-fi is, and also the set-top box, and this is where I also have some power. So I think that's going to, well, I know it's going to work because I tested it a couple of days ago. So this is able to reach my TV without any issues, and sort of all my devices are that way. First of all, let me talk about how you set this unit up. I mean, I already set up the unit. As you can see, it shows up in my devices. I think I placed it in the living room. So it says Blitzwolf Smart, well, it says infrared unit, but the title is a little bit long. But basically you power this up, and when you power it up, mine didn't work into pairing mode immediately, but there is a button here in the top here. So you press it and then it goes into pairing mode, and you can tell the pairing mode because there is a ring light here which is going to, I think it flashes between green and blue. And then in this Tuya Smart app, oh, by the way, you can use either the Blitzwolf app or the Tuya Smart app. The Blitzwolf app is just basically a rebranded Tuya app. So I'm just going to use the Tuya app because that's where all my devices are. And once you have the device in pairing mode, you just come to the Tuya app and you click on the plus button on the top right. And then you go to all the way down to others in the category, and this universal control in the it's the middle one in the top row. So that's what you click, and then you just follow the normal process. You provide the SSID, the password, and then it's going to connect to your Tuya app. And once you do that, you are presented with an empty screen, and that's when you can set up the TV remote. And setting up the TV remote has 3 different ways. First of all, you can select whether the whatever you want to set up is a TV, set-top box, fan light. I mean, you can see the categories here, and that will determine a pre-configured screen. So for example, if I want a TV, the first step in each of these is that you select the maker. So obviously, you know, whatever TV that you have. And let's say I have a Sony TV, which I don't have. So you just select Sony. So you select the brand. And now the next step is that you try to point the universal control to this device, so maybe like that, and then you press the power button, and then it would try to determine what is the specific, you know, code for that remote. And usually this works at the first try, because even if you have Sony probably have like 10 different or 20 different remotes. So by learning how the power button works, it would know out of those 20 which one do you have. And then once that works, then immediately you are configured and you don't have to do anything else. Sometimes it doesn't work. Maybe you picked the wrong maker, or maybe this is just a button which is not known, or some other reason. So you can always go to this manual mode. which means that, as you can see, it knows 21 Sony TVs at the moment. So what you can do is you can try the first one. So maybe you can, press the power button. You can see there is a visual effect that some code is being sent. Or you can send the volume button or channel or whatever, and then you see if the TV responds. If the TV doesn't respond, you go to the next one. This is Sony remote number 2, and again you press the power button, and you do this cycle all the way until you find the one which can control your TV, and at that point you say I can control, and then you complete the setup and your Sony TV is going to be configured. So this is one way of doing that. So I have my TCL TV set up, and you can see that for all the TVs it looks like that the layout is going to be similar to this. So you have a power button, the menu, the four-way control, some numbers, and also you have some more. So there is some TV specific buttons which are just listed in this sort of free column layout without any controls. But here you can see most of the controls that I have anyway on my TCL remote. So probably this is going to list like 80% of them. But for all the TVs, you are going to have this first generic screen, and then the specific buttons are accessible here in the more. So the next option is what I'm going to use for my T Home remote. So this is the set-top box that was provided by T with my subscription. And this set-top box is not branded. So it has two logos at the back. One says TTI and the other one says STB, but I can't find any of them. So if I select set-top box, and then again it comes up with a manufacturer list, none of them are listed. So I can't really pick this by manufacturer. So what I can do is I can come here and I can select DIY. So in the next step, I still need to select one of the devices that I want to set up, because that's going to determine the layout. So I'm going to select set-top box, and now my this infrared transmitter is going to learn some of the codes, and from that it's going to determine what type of remote I have. So I press OK, and now I need to hold the remote close to the receiver or the transmitter. So let me do that. So I do power button and button 1, and then maybe the OK button. So as you can see, it learned 3 buttons, and now it says that based on these codes, it still found 4 possible variations. So what I can do now is I can use the power button, and actually I can already see that my set-top box has turned on. So the first one actually works, so I can press on the button which says can control, and I'm just going to leave it as set-top box because I don't have any other set-top boxes. So now the T-Home set-top box is now set up, and again I have this face which looks pretty much similar to the TV, and yeah, I have some of the other buttons that you probably can see on this remote. So again, it was relatively easy to set up an unknown model. And then the last option is, if you want to set up something which is, like these sort of like cheap remotes. I mean, I have these DIY MP3 player / radio, which comes with this infrared remote. Actually, I already set up as the MP3 player, as you can see on the screen now, but I'm going to show you how it is done, because that's going to be a fairly easy process as well. And the fact that I like about this one is, as I said, literally you can set up any remote. So again, you click on add, and again we select DIY, and maybe for this I could select the audio, but I'm going to show you another way, which is the completely DIY, or the completely out of these categories, which is the last one, which again says DIY. And here I'm getting a generic layout. So I'm going to have buttons in a free column layout, and I can just define the buttons that I need. So I'm going to press here. So I want to learn this button, and I'm going to press the top left button, which is power. And next button is the mode. So this is the mode. And Next, it's the mute button. And funny that it has a free button layout as well, so it's going to look exactly as the, as the physical model. But I guess you get the idea. You can train all the buttons in the remote and it's just going to appear as like generic buttons in a free column layout. You can't select a picture or icon, you just have text. And when you are finished with that, you select, finish, and your new model is now set up. So if I go in, I have the 3 buttons that I have configured, and if I click on them, it's going to send out the signal. You can see the green light. So fairly easy. By the way you remove this, the way you rename this is you press and hold here, and I can remove it. Rename it DIY audio player, something like that. So you can easily automate very cheap devices that you have around the home. And when I say cheap devices, I even mean stuff like these RGB light. I mean, this happens to be a Sonoff L1 light strip, which means that it has Wi-Fi built in. So this is not the best example to show, but I don't have any other Wi-Fi controllable light at home. So let's just assume that this doesn't have any Wi-Fi capability built in. It is just a simple infrared LED strip controller. And to set up these, I followed the exact same process that I just mentioned below for the MP3 player. And you can see the LED strip here. So if I do on, the LED strip comes on, and I defined one of the few colors. So this is white, this is red, and green, and blue. And as you can see, it works just like that. It is so easy to define these. And to be honest, I don't think that this functionality was possible in the previous infrared remote that I reviewed a couple of years ago. So I really like this DIY option because, as I said, anything you have around some, old dumb units that comes with a remote, as long as the remote still works, you can learn any remote with this device. So if you don't want to spend the extra money on Wi-Fi LED strip controllers, then you can just buy this infrared one, and it can control as much as as many strips as you want. To be honest, if you buy something like this, I think all the remotes, one remote would be able to control all your light strips. So means that if you learn one of these remotes, and then it's going to operate all your LED strips that are going to be in the range of the infrared remote. And because we are using the Tuya Smart app, it automatically integrates with Alexa and Google Home as well. I don't have an Alexa, but I have a Google Home device, and I actually want to show you how the TV looks like. So this TV icon here, which is in the living room, that's the TV that I have configured in the Tuya app for this one. So if I select what, I can see that the TV is now off, and I can turn it on. I mean, unfortunately, there is nothing else that you get in the app. So maybe when it's on, yeah, of course it doesn't send status back. But that's pretty much it. You can turn the TV on and off, and of course you can use the voice assistant to, ask Google to turn the TV on and off. So at least this is what you get. You don't get any other control here. And I'm just scrolling down to my generic devices. I can see the set-top box here. So again, I can turn the set-top box on and off. And as you can see, even from the home app, it sends the information down to the this infrared transmitter. And if I press the button, you can see that it actually sends out the signal because I'm getting this small visual animation. But apart from these two devices that I've created as a specific device, so not a DIY device, I can't see my other devices. So the MP3 players and the LED strip are not visible here. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is that when you're setting these up, only the ones that are sort of like branded categories are going to show up, well, at least in the home app. And even if they show up, you're most probably only going to be able to control the the on-off functionality from Google Home, and any of the things that you configured as DIY, it's just basically not going to show up. So this is the voice assistant integration with this infrared remote control. And finally, just like in all my videos, I want to see how it works with the automation and the smart controls. So if I try to create a new automation, let's say when the device status changes, let's see what the infrared remote offers. And well, definitely it's not going to be here because it is a device which sends out signals. It's not going to receive any signals. So you won't be able to create an automation. Let's say that you press the OK button on the remote manually because it just sends data out. It doesn't receive anything. So let's set it up as tap to run. And what I want to check now is, can we use automation to control any of our infrared devices? So I'm going to select run device. And we can. And as you can see, all my devices are listed here. So my DIY audio player, set-top box, LED strip, MP3 player, and the TV. So let's say if we can use the LED strip. So if I select that, let's see what actions we have available. Oh, and we have any of the buttons we can select. Okay, so I could create an automation which if I select, then it actually going to instruct my thingy to send out a signal. So let me save this one. So this is a tap to run. So if I tap it, then it runs and it turns on my LED strip. So this is great because let's say you have these really, cheap, simple LED strip controllers, infrared ones, and now you can use this device with some automation, which let's say you set up the automation to execute at a specific a specific time, and then it just sends out the signal at that time and your LED strip turns on. And you can do the same with the TV. Or let's say you have a switch. So I don't know, one of these switch. So I just picked a Blitzwolf smart switch. And if I turn on, I can run a device. So if I turn on my lights, or maybe I have a light at the door when I come in, and if I come home and I press that button, I want my LED strip to turn on and run device. I also want my TV to automatically turn on. And that's going to be my routine. When I come home, I want my non-smart devices like my TV and the LED strip to come on automatically. And I think this is the end of the review video. I quite like this small device. It's well, of course, the device itself is, it's capable, and looks like the infrared power that it transmits is decently powerful enough because it can reach all my devices in the room. But more importantly, the way it is got implemented in the Blitzwolf app, the fact that you can set up DIY remote, so basically you can learn any odd remote that you might have with some cheap devices, and the fact that it is integrated into the automation functionality as well gives it a lot of options how you can control basically non-smart devices with other smart devices. If you are interested in this product, I'm going to leave purchasing links in the video description. But I think that would be all for today. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video.